Welcome back to another Fantasy Puck video, guys. It's Chris, and today I'm going to be talking about must draft rookies going into next season. Before we get started, guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Like I said, we have a video coming out pretty much every day throughout September, all the way until the start of the season in October. So lots of content coming your guys' way, as well as be sure to check us out on TikTok and Instagram. We've got so much content coming on those platforms, as well to a lot of short form content also. Before we get into the video, guys, as well, if you want to join a more competitive, more interactive fantasy hockey league, we are offering our own fantasy hockey Patreon leagues available on our Patreon. It's a one-time sign up. You get access to the league throughout the entire season. Sign up through our Patreon and then go into our Discord and click on which draft date works best for you. Very competitive leagues. Myself and all of the FP crew will be involved in it. We have 3 or maybe even 4 leagues full at this point, so spots are going fast. If you're interested, be sure to sign up on our Patreon, guys. But getting into the video, when we talk about rookies, there's a couple things that we have to remember. Number one, that they're very difficult to project, and it's because there isn't an NHL sample for them at all. That's why a lot of the times, like, it's just difficult to see like what rookies get the most ice time, what rookies will, have a different shot volume in the NHL depending on their role, what rookies will hit more depending on their role in the NHL. So just something to keep an eye on and something to remember as we're looking at rookies. They're definitely the most volatile, I guess, kind of category when it comes to fantasy hockey. So keep that in mind. The other thing is success is just completely dependent on the opportunity and the amount of ice time that they get. It's very rare that you should be drafting a rookie that plays on like the 3rd or 4th line. So everybody in this video basically covers one of 2 things. It's opportunity and talent, which I'll talk about pretty much every single rookie in that sense as well too. And then the last thing is, like, a lot of them don't become fantasy relevant until years 2 or 3. There are a couple of exceptions. I know Mort Seider was one of them that I can think of off the top of my head, where he was just an absolute fantasy stud in his first year and had continued to be ever since then. But a lot of these high-skilled guys don't get the opportunity that they would normally get as a rookie in years, say, 2 or 3. So again, something to keep in mind. However, there are a lot of really good opportunities for some rookies this year, guys. A lot better than I've seen in the past couple years. So this should be a really fun and exciting video. Up first, to nobody's surprise, is Connor Bedard. I made a more detailed video about him on where you should be drafting him and my thoughts on his total projections going into next season. So if you guys haven't checked out that video, be sure to check out the link in the description. There will be a link to that video as well as a little kind of pop-up on the video right now. But basically with Bedard, the biggest thing, like I said, I look for with rookies is opportunity and talent, and he has a ton of both. Basically more opportunity than anybody else on this entire video. He is going to be the guy in Chicago. He had 23 points in 7 games at the World Juniors. I believe he's a generational talent. He just needs to now show that he can be a generational player. Like I said, he'll have every opportunity in Chicago. He could even see 20 minutes right out of the gate. This is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a great thing because Bedard's going to see as much ice as he possibly can, but it's also going to mean that teams are going to game plan around him and match up their best players against him. If you guys have been keeping up with the BioSteel camp, the one that McDavid goes to every single year, Bedard also attended this year, and he looks right at home against NHL caliber defensemen. He has so many weapons outside of just his shot, so I would not be surprised at all if he's around a point a game. I'm also expecting a really high shot volume from him, but he's just as good as a playmaker. But if you want a more detailed explanation on where you should be taking him in drafts, I definitely recommend you watch my video, as I would not recommend taking him around his current ADP. As you can see, it's very high, 39.9. Up next is Logan Cooley of the Arizona Coyotes, somebody that we weren't sure if he was going to go back to college in the NCAA or if he was going to come to the NHL. He's another highly skilled player with a lot of opportunity in front of him as well too, guys. The 3rd overall pick absolutely torched the NCAA with 60 points in 39 games, and at the under 20 World Juniors he had 14 points in 7 games as well. He should see top 6 minutes in Arizona with a lot more talent surrounding him than Bedard has in Chicago. I could see him staying on pace with what Bedard produces in Chicago, depending on how, you know, he's able to find chemistry, especially if they end up playing him with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz on that top line, taking over Barrett Hayton's spot. Just something to keep an eye on with Cooley. He's going to get a lot of opportunity, as well as he is going to be looked at the guy there now in Arizona as well, alongside Clayton Keller, just because they don't have a lot of center depth whatsoever. Cooley should slide into, like I said, that top 6 role, get a lot of opportunity. I could see him easily having a 50-point season. I don't know about the shot volume because the NCAA doesn't like to track shots when they're looking at stats, so that's why the stats below me are kind of bare bones right now, guys. Apologies for that, but can't do much if there's nothing recorded. But I really like Cooley going into next season. Like I said, I think he could keep pace with Bedard, and I really like the opportunity that he's in Arizona. Another guy that could challenge Connor Bedard for the Calder Trophy race is Adam Fantilli, and this is just based off the opportunity and talent that's around him as well. I think he's arguably in a better situation than Cooley could be in if he ends up being on that top line with Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine. He had 65 points in 36 games in the NCAA, but then struggled in the World Juniors, having only 5 points in 7 games. But he should be in a very similar position to Cooley, where he at least gets top 6 minutes. Like I said, the ideal situation would be if he does end up playing with Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine. He could have a monster season. He is just as talented as the two guys in front of him. I'm really excited to see what happens with Columbus in this season, especially where they end up putting Fantilli. But he is a good kind of flyer, good kind of late round pick to take a shot on. If he ends up playing on that top line, like he said, he could be in for a massive season. Up next is Devon Levi, and if I were a betting man, which I am, I would sprinkle a little bit of money on this guy winning the Calder. I think he has the best opportunity out of everybody on this list, but from a goaltending standpoint, Levi could be the clear-cut #1 guy in Buffalo. He has the best opportunity out of everybody on this list to become an elite fantasy asset next year or going into this season. In the last 7 games he played, he went 5-2 with a .905 save percentage, which is pretty solid stats, but it doesn't tell the whole story. He faced over 28 shots in every single one of those games, and 4 of those 7 games he had over a .929 save percentage. That is insane, guys. There is a lot of hype around him for a reason, but there's still a little bit of risk. One thing that worries me with Levi is he's the only non-waiver eligible goalie out of the 3 on Buffalo. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Eric Comrie, are both waiver eligible. So if they weren't going to run 3 goalies, or if they did decide to run 3 goalies at the start of the season and they had to send one down for, say, cap reasons, or for, say, for example, like they just didn't want to run 3 goalies and they wanted an extra defenseman or a forward, it's likely that Levi is going to be the first guy sent down unless they make a trade, for example. The other thing is his success is going to depend on how good Buffalo is defensively. This is another major thing. As good of a goaltender as he is, we've seen some elite goalies on some very bad teams be just average at best. John Gibson comes to mind. Buffalo was 11th in high danger shots against, which is not good, and 31st in block shots. So he's going to be getting a lot of volume in Buffalo, as you could tell probably by the amount of shots that he played in the 7 games that he did see in the NHL. So I think Levi, albeit is in a great spot and does have a lot of potential to, like I said, be an elite fantasy asset going into next season, but there is some risk involved with him. That's why I have him where he's at. Up next is Luke Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. Remember when we were looking at NCAA point totals for Cooley and Fantilli? Luke Hughes had 48 points in 39 games as a defenseman. Out of every single NCAA defenseman in the last decade, Luke Hughes is tied for first in points per game in a single season with 1.23, beating out guys like Adam Fox, Jake Sanderson, and his brother Quinn. The talent is absolutely there, guys. If you ever get a chance to see this guy play, and you're going to see a lot of him, as he should see top 4 minutes and power play 2-time in New Jersey. It's going to be, New Jersey is going to be must-watch TV this year, guys. There is a possibility that he could steal the power play 1 spot from Dougie, as Dougie does have a little bit of injury risk. And if Dougie Hamilton does end up going down, you're going to really wish that you drafted this guy. I think he could easily be in the 40 30-point range, just where he's sitting right now, playing top 4 minutes and power play 2 time. But if he does end up getting that power play 1 spot, or if they just decide to play him on the top power play and see how that works out, as unlikely as that might be, it's still a possibility. And if he does lock up that number 1 power play spot for whatever reason, this guy is going to go off. Up next, we have Brandt Clarke of the LA Kings, just as impressive as Luke Hughes is when it comes to talent and opportunity as an offensive defenseman. He had 30 goals. That is not a typo. 30 goals and 48 points in 43 combined regular season and playoff games last season. He probably won't see top 4 minutes like Luke Hughes will, but I think he's got just as good of a shot, if not better, to get power play 1 time away from Drew Doughty. You don't have to reach on him in drafts too. If you look at his ADP currently, he goes much later than Luke Hughes does, for example, with arguably just as much upside. Like I said, if he ends up stealing that power play 1 role from Drew Doughty, who honestly could just be given the reins to Brandt Clarke because of how talented he is as a puck mover, I still think he's in a great spot. The one thing where I'm seeing a difference between him and Luke Hughes is the fact that Clarke is probably not guaranteed top 4 minutes and likely starts on the bottom pair of the LA Kings. But if he does manage to get into that top 4 role, he's in a great spot, especially as a puck-moving offensive defenseman with a ton of talent, guys. Again, just a guy I'm really excited to watch and see grow in the National Hockey League just because of what he's been able to do in junior. Really excited to see this guy as well, and I think he's honestly a really good late target for picking up a defenseman you want to take a shot on. Up next, guys, we have another goalie in Joseph Woll. In the 11 games that he's played over the past 2 seasons for the Toronto Maple Leafs during the regular season, he's had 9 wins, 2 losses, a .238 goals against average, and a .924 save percentage. He's been unbelievable when he's been called upon in the National Hockey League, and I believe he could even see 1B volume this season. I do think there is also an opportunity that Joseph Woll could steal the net from Samsonov if Samsonov's play slips, as we've seen in the past that he hasn't really been the number 1 guy on a team yet. So just something to keep in mind with that. They might even, like I said, play a 1A, 1B split just because of how good Woll has been, and if he continues to play at this level, very likely that he could steal some more volume out of Ilya Samsonov. He's been unbelievable, guys, but there is a little bit of risk as well, too. I would normally be a lot higher on him, but Samsonov just had such a good year for the Leafs last year as well, too. I think it's possible where it could be an inverse situation where they just play Samsonov as a true number 1 starter and he gets over 50 games, and Woll is just a very solid, competent backup. It also does worry me a little bit that Martin Jones signed with the Leafs. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, if they're going to run 3 goaltenders or what is happening exactly with Martin Jones. I do anticipate Joseph Woll being the backup for the Leafs this season, and I would draft Woll 10 out of 10 times before I'd ever draft Martin Jones. But I've seen crazier things happen before, guys. It's possible they just want to send him down to the AHL, and if Martin Jones struggles, they bring him up at that point. He would be an absolute must-add. But like I said, Woll has a great opportunity in front of him, not only to steal the role in Toronto, but even if he doesn't, he should get a lot of volume if his play continues to be at the level that it has been when he's been in the National Hockey League. Finishing up our video, guys, we have Matthew Knies of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I considered some other rookies here, but I couldn't get to them because of the 2 criteria that I had in terms of talent and in terms of opportunity. I think I also considered a guy like Joel Hofer, but I'm not sure about the situation as much in St. Louis as I would be a guy like Joseph Woll or Devon Levi. So I wanted to just leave him off that list. He should be in another Deep League Options video coming soon throughout the month of September. But just, again, with Knies, I think his success is completely dependent on his role that he plays in Toronto. I believe he should still see top 6 minutes and power play 2 time, even with Tyler Bertuzzi coming in. Everybody anticipates Bertuzzi to play with Matthews and Marner, but it could be a possibility that they slide Bertuzzi with Tavares and Nylander and put Knies on the top line. Regardless, I still think he should play he should see time in the top 6 to start at the very least. And this is worth taking a shot on a guy that plays with, some elite talent as well, too, given the opportunity that's in front of him. He was really good in the playoffs in terms of driving play and had 4 points in 7 games. I'm a little bit worried about the peripherals, but it's difficult to project, especially because he was only playing around 13 minutes average time on ice during those 7 playoff games and the 3 before during the regular season. So we'll see where he's at in terms of training camp as we get closer to the regular season. But like I said, I am anticipating him being in the top 6. He had a great season in the NCAA, 42 points, 21 goals, 21 assists with the University of Minnesota, but I'm anticipating Knies will be able to capitalize on the opportunity in front of him in the top 6 in Toronto. That's going to do for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and comment below who your favorite rookie is going into next season. Also, let me know in the comments down below who you're most excited to watch from a rookie standpoint in the National Hockey League going into next year. I think for me, honestly, like, I'm just so curious about how Bedard is. There's been so much hype around him. He's so incredibly talented when it comes to his shot. I'm so excited to see it in the National Hockey League. Even though he's playing on Chicago next year, it should be a lot of fun to watch. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did and hit that subscribe button. We have so much content coming for you guys all throughout September, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day.